Good evening, this is the Oscar expert here with Brother Bro, and it's time to review Twisters.
It's Lee Isaac Chung's movie following his Oscar nomination for Minari.
That's right. And to prep for this film, I just watched Twister for the first time since so long ago that I don't remember it. Which I think is a good, fine movie that I can't fault for too much. Like, it doesn't do a lot that's, like, incredible, but it is solid 90s entertainment. The film is getting a lot of praise from critics and audiences who have seen it so far, and that's fine. And if you are excited for the movie and you like this kind of thing, you probably are going to disagree with me here. You're probably going to disagree. To me, this was just average blockbuster entertainment. Unfortunately, Lee Isaac Chung, I was looking forward to his next film as a fan of Minari, and I don't see a vision here. I don't see a voice here. I feel like anybody could have directed this. You could have showed me the entire movie and then imagine my shock when I see that it was his name at the end.
Right. Minari is a heartfelt indie drama that was, a very personal story. So, like, through the story, we feel like we get to know Lee Isaac Chung perhaps as a filmmaker. It's not like a highly stylized film. So what does that kind of director bring to a blockbuster?
The answer is I don't really
The answer is
know.
I'm not exactly sure. Yeah, some directors that start in the indie scene, they're excited to get into that director's chair and try something ambitious. Take on the next iteration of a franchise, like you're Greta Gerwig and you're just never going to go back to indie. And it starts to make sense when you see those filmmakers climb those ladders and you're like, yeah, you are meant to be like up there on the silver screen with $100 million budgets.
It's like Ryan Coogler, for example. Even Chloe
Ryan
Zhao
Coogler.
with Eternals. Eternals, sure, it went wrong in some ways, but I actually liked it better than the average Marvel film because I did actually feel some of Chloe Zhao's ambitions.
Yeah.
But this one, I didn't really feel that.
Well, I just think perhaps Lee Isaac Chung is just, his voice is going to come through in an indie film more. But I did see a little bit where this film has very naturalistic cinematography, and I think it is very in love with the landscapes and Oklahoma, and it does a lot with the music and soundtrack to characterize that place. So I understood it through that perspective, but I didn't feel like this is a director who is just chomping at the bit to get into that like blockbuster seat. I'm not begging for like Twisters to be auteur cinema, but it just wasn't that ambitious. That's what I was looking for in the film, was just a little bit of ambition. Like, show me something different. Give me something I didn't expect. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not doing anything special.
I can get down with your point about Lee Isaac Chung having a better feel for the Oklahoma landscapes, and I do think that there's a chance that another director could have made a film that feels more artificial. The naturalistic lighting, though, I think may have been a little bit of an issue, because I think the movie was a bit gray looking, and sometimes the faces were pretty underlit and lacking in color. Now, a lot of the scenes I understand. When it's cloudy out, when tornadoes are coming, it's very gray. But the first film, I think, had a bit more color to it, a bit more contrast, and I think that modern blockbuster films have a contrast problem that was not an issue in some blockbusters of like the 90s. Like, I watched Babe recently. Maybe it has to do with the quality of film stock now versus then, but like, I think that there's something that modern blockbuster filmmaking can learn from the contrast in older films.
A lot of that's just what the colorist brings to the film, and this film wasn't trying to have a style, so it just went for something more natural. But I think it could have done more with the cinematography in that the lighting was a little dull, and I think there's more image that we could have gotten. It could have popped off the screen a little bit more, but then again, you would be sacrificing that kind of natural look because you'd have to get these very bright lights closer to the actors. It's a choice that will work for some people, but it didn't do that much for me. I think it could have just been more fun in general.
Didn't get my blood pumping.
Yeah,
didn't have those
energy.
moments like, fuck yeah! And the first Twister didn't necessarily have that either, but that movie shouldn't be the gold standard either, because that movie's also like fine. But I did like the first one more. Like, there weren't a ton of shots where I was like, yeah, that's a great shot for this moment. Like, that shot is making me feel like I am in the scene. There are actually a lot of shots that felt like they were coverage. They were filming what was going on so they could edit together multiple angles.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. Which is not very ambitious filmmaking, the kind of thing that I'd rather see from a blockbuster.
Yeah, there weren't that many memorable images. I totally agree with that.
For the most part, Twisters is not really guilty of anything that other films aren't also guilty of in terms of not being amazing or not being next level. And I also feel this way about the human story, which is more disappointing, because I thought that if anything, this is what Lee Isaac Chung is bringing that could be interesting. Maybe the story's going to go a little deeper. And at first, I thought maybe we're in for that, because it actually sets up the personal stakes pretty high for the main character. But there weren't really a lot of strong emotional payoff moments at all.
It was also just very run-of-the-mill for me. There was nothing really unexpected, and you could just feel how everything's going to fall into a certain order. Every beat was to be expected.
Nothing surprising happened even, really. Yeah. And even a lot of the action is just so similar to the original film. The original film at least has that it is original going for it. You know, they have to like drive the truck near the tornado and get some barrels swept up like that. It's kind of the same in that way. There is a romance at the center here, and I think Glenn Powell has a bit of that classic movie star energy, which he's showcased in stuff like Top Gun Maverick and Hitman. Like he's got kind of an old school charm, you know? It's another good Glenn Powell performance, and I hope that he continues his movie stardom.
Yeah, I was very happy that he and Daisy Edgar Jones were leading this film. I liked the chemistry. I bought it. Daisy Edgar Jones is very reliable. Like, she's very natural. She's clearly a talented actress. Like, can convey a lot with a little. The character wasn't that interesting or memorable. Like, we were talking about that. But I enjoyed them in this film. Anthony Ramos also. It was great to see him in another role, and I liked him here. It's not, like, amazing. Like, nothing's amazing. One thing, I actually do have one shout out. I liked the score. And I often nitpick scores because I like to listen for them. I like to see what they're up to. You know, I thought the music added a lot of character here. I liked that the score incorporated acoustic guitars, fiddles. There's another scene with, you know, two tornadoes doing the sort of dance, and I liked how it complemented that scene. You know, there's like a country soundtrack which is full of original songs that I think people will appreciate here. And I thought the songs worked really well. I gotta say, you know, they injected a nice amount of character and energy into the film. And it was needing of that too. However, I didn't love that the music was used to not do too much sound work. The 90s film, did you feel like that had spectacular sound, or that it was exceptional?
Oh yes, because the tornadoes sound like they're growling monsters.
Right. Yeah, that's what I saw in like a clip.
Yeah.
So this film, they don't really care about the sound, unfortunately. It felt like they cared first and foremost about music, and then they incorporated sound when there wasn't music, but it was kind of minimal. And I think people will perceive it as having a lot of sound because there's just tornadoes going on. But if you really listen for it, like it's mostly music. And I think that's a missed opportunity. I love sound. I love being immersed in sound. I feel like you can make the tornadoes so much more terrifying and intimidating. You can heighten the level of danger and anxiety with sound. The movie doesn't care about that too much, just using the film score as its crutch. You know, visual effects wise, I also don't think we're seeing anything groundbreaking here. I was maybe expecting a little bit more on that level because the first one was also nominated for visual effects at the Oscars in addition to sound.
They were fine. It wasn't like, well...
The film's also very silly. Like, all the science is just science-y garbage, and I'm fine with it. But again, like, the film just feels a little silly, and it feels like it doesn't know just how silly it is. It could have embraced more silliness, maybe.
I thought it could have had a little more humor in there. I think the lead character, the way that she is all serviceable. It's all fine. She's competent and smart and kind of reserved because of what she's going through.
The way you described it is so milquetoast.
Yes. There's nothing wrong with that, but leaving the theater, I just felt frustrated because why make the main character kind of forgettable? Why not have like a more pronounced character?
Because they want the audience to put themselves into her. They want the audience to see themselves as her. And then you can have the charismatic alpha male seduce you. And then it works. You know, those movies kind of have to have that. You know what I'm saying? You have to be able to have that like sort of shy, nerdy girl be seduced by the alpha male.
I also think that the movie could have had a little more romance. The chemistry, put them a little closer, make it a little bit more electric.
I don't know. They were good though. I did feel the.
I thought the main relationship was like, all right. I think that there just weren't that many moments between characters that kind of packed a punch or led to satisfying payoffs.
Yeah, there's a cute moment at the end.
There is a cute moment at the end. But then I thought about it, and I thought that moment, I thought it could have been more about her than him. Seems like most people are having a good time with this one. I'm very happy for you. The movie never really took off for me. There were a couple scenes where I was, you know, people were holding on to things, and I was kind of like, ooh, I'm kind of holding on there with you. It was a little bit thrilling. It just doesn't rise to like any levels of interesting, and I think that's disappointing. And you can say that I have high standards if you want, but I want more.
We can ask for more from movies like this. That's fine. I just wanted a little more of everything. I wanted the choices in the film, creative and story choices, to be elevated. Give it a 5.
I give it a 5 out of 10 as well.
Do we talk about Oscars? Because I gotta say, I had this at number 5 in sound when I walked into the film, and then I had it on the precipice of entering the visual effects 5. After seeing it, I'm going to take it out. I don't think the Academy is going to go for it. I don't think it's exceptional work.
Those elements were not standout enough where I was thinking about that they should get an Oscar nomination, and I think the movie will probably get nothing. It's possible they make the short list, just depending on if there's a lot of competition, but I don't know.
And for both sound and visual effects, could make a short list there.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing.
How many tornadoes do you predict will be in this film?